there was huge curiosity about giving birth. It's like one
Wow.
of those experiences that I was like, I had no idea what to expect. Nobody ever told me about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
That is really unique ways to approach that. I never heard
it
anyone.
was part of, like sometimes I was like, I wonder what it's like to experience that. But then it's like,
Mhm.
like you experience and then you're gone. But
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder what it's like to experience birth. I was almost like, I'm grateful that I'm a woman because it's like, it's a very interesting experience. Like,
Uh-huh.
there was something about the experience that really was attractive to me rather than apprehensive. Like I hear sometimes women, like, oh my God, like I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I never had these thoughts. I mean, like
Mhm.
I'm gonna do it. Like somehow it was never a concern in my mind. I know that when I was very young, I remember I was reading books, and I can't quote you these books, but I remember it was talking about, how our bodies just naturally made, designed to do what we are meant to do. And I remember when I was looking at my body, I was like, you know what? I have small waist and big hips. So that's the body that's designed to give birth
Right.
naturally. That's a healthy way to, like my body is, like I look at my body and I was like, my body looks like a healthy woman's body. I should be able to carry a child and give birth. So
Uh-huh.
it was an experience of curiosity.
Hi, everyone. My name is Soul Tali, and you're listening to Soul Sisterhood Birthing Journey podcast, episode number 4. And today I'm with Tanya Rosenbaum, who gave birth to 2 beautiful children, Adam and Karina. Hi, Tanya. How are you feeling today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Good. I know you worked today all day, so I'm so thankful that you're here with me and with us. So before we really get into your unique birthing story, can you share a little bit about yourself, like who you are or what you do, whatever comes up to you?
Sure. Uh, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a lawyer, I'm an accountant, I'm a dancer, I'm a healer, and the list can go on. I'm passionate about my kids. I'm very passionate about dancing. I'm passionate about healing arts. I'm passionate about animals. I love life.
Oh, that just makes so much sense to me about your summary about your birthing story. When I was
Thank
reading
you.
your summary about your birthing story, what really drew my attention was you was keep saying that how magical and spiritual experience that was to you. So I'm just so, honored to be here to listen to your story and actually experience through your storytelling. And that one of the quote that one of my favorite birthing quote it came to me is that Robin Rim, who is Filipino American midwife, and she said about birthing. Let me read it from the beginning. Birthing is the most profound initiation to spirituality a woman can have, and I'm more than 100% at what she's saying. So if you're ready and wherever it takes you when you think about birthing, like I don't know if you go like beginning of pregnancy or going right to pushing your baby out, but wherever it takes you to, and then we can go ahead and start.
Sure,
Yes.
sure. Uh, Thank you for bringing up this quote. It's really a beautiful beginning to my story because I'm 52 years old right now, and my kids are, as I'm very proud to say, my kids are young adults, almost 25 and 22 now.
Mhm.
And sure, I'm a healer right now, and I'm very much interested in spiritual matters. But back when I was getting pregnant with my kids, spirituality wasn't that much on the forefront of, my mind and my being. Uh, I was very practical. As I mentioned, I'm a lawyer and a CPA, and everything had to be black and white. And
Mhm.
spirituality wasn't really that big part of my life. I
Oh.
I wasn't really, thinking spirituality. But
Mhm.
what I always knew is I wanted to experience giving birth. That was part of like my being. I'm a curious person, and
Mhm.
I'll be very honest. Like back when I was younger, I wasn't sure that I wanted to have kids in a sense. Like, some of my friends from high school, I remember they were like, oh, like, I can't wait to get married and have kids. it wasn't like that for me. I can't wait to have a birthing experience. That was my thinking. I wasn't
Mm.
really uh, I mean,
Wow.
I there was a part of me that wanted to have kids. Like,
Uh-huh.
sure, I wanted to raise children, but there was huge curiosity about giving birth. It's like one of
Wow.
those experiences that I was like, I had no idea what to expect. Nobody ever told me about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
That is really unique ways to approach that. I never heard
it was
anyone.
part of, like sometimes I was like, I wonder what it's like to experience that. But then it's like,
Mhm.
like you experience and then you're gone. But
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder what it's like to experience birth. I was almost like, I'm grateful that I'm a woman because it's like, it's a very interesting experience. Like,
Uh-huh.
there was something about the experience that really was attractive to me rather than apprehensive. Like I hear sometimes women, oh, like, oh my God, like I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I never had these thoughts. I mean, like
Mm.
I'm gonna do it. Like somehow it was never a concern in my mind. I
Mhm.
know that when I was very young, I remember I was reading books, and I can't quote you these books, but I remember it was talking about, how our bodies just naturally made, designed to do what we are meant to do. And I remember when I was looking at my body, I was like, you know what? I have small waist and big hips. So that's the body that's designed to give birth
Right.
naturally. That's a healthy way to, like my body is, like I look at my body and I was like, my body looks like a healthy woman's body. I should
Mhm.
be able to carry a child and give birth. So
Uh-huh.
it was an experience of curiosity. It was an
Yes.
experience of
Yes.
curiosity of like really like that happens to the body and like and that happens. I was like I told you, like that was really I was curious about how it's gonna work out. There
Yes.
wasn't much fear about it. Sure,
Mhm.
there was like apprehension, certain apprehension, how things are gonna work out, but I can't I didn't have much fear that I can tell
Mhm. Wow. So lovely. Wow. Wow.
you.
Yeah.
So uh when I got pregnant with my son, and that was, a welcome and expected pregnancy. I'd been married for 7 years, and I was going through school. And then when I was finished with school, we were ready to start a family, and getting pregnant was uneventful for me. I just, we
Mhm.
decided that I'm going to get pregnant, and I got pregnant,
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, and I had, like, I would say, like in general, uneventful pregnancy in terms of like, I was healthy. I was 27 years old. I was
Uh-huh.
healthy. It was, the first baby in the family for me and for my husband. So, we had grandparents, anticipating grandparents,
Uh-huh.
well, our parents, and uh, my husband had a grandmother, and it was my husband's grandmother, but over the years of us being together, I used to say, oh, she's not your grandmother, she's my grandmother.
Yeah.
Like that's how it's, that's how I
Uh-huh.
always looked at it. We
Uh-huh.
were best of friends, and we clicked instantaneously when I married him, and it was like she was my mentor and my friend, and my biggest supporter.
Mm.
And she also was an OBGYN of 50 years.
Mm.
Uh, and
Wow.
just to give you a background, a little bit more background, I'm an immigrant from former Soviet Union, and so is my husband's family.
Uh-huh.
So she worked in Soviet Union as an obstetrician, as a gynecologist, up
Mhm.
until her 50s, until she immigrated to the United States.
Okay.
And here she wasn't working as an OBGYN, but she got a license of an sonographer. So she worked in a clinic with pregnant women, and she was doing sonograms. And she
Oh.
assisted doctors,
Uh-huh.
in diagnosing and this and that, because, even though she wasn't an official doctor in the United States, I mean, she had years and years of experience. Doctors
Right.
would just, unofficially ask her, like, what do you think about, how
Mhm.
this pregnancy is going? And so she was my birthing coach, I would say.
Mhm.
She was my supporter, and uh, perhaps that's why I felt very comfortable about pregnancy because, like I had my doctor, on my speed dial. It's like whenever
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
would happen, I
Mhm.
would just call her say, oh,
Hmm.
like this is going on. And she would be like, oh,
Yeah.
this is fine. Or she would be like, let me come over and check you out or something. So she was always there for me. And at the time of this happening, I know it kind of sounds funny. She was 77 years old and she was still working part time. So,
Wow. Hmm.
uh,
She was your great supporter.
yeah, she was
Yeah.
my supporter. I didn't take any birthing classes. I don't think I took any classes. I was kind of very much matter of factly of, you know what? It's like women have done that for thousands of years.
Right.
It's like something as trivial as, like you put your hand to your mouth. It's like, you're gonna
Hmm.
know what to
Hmm.
do and when you're gonna need to do it. I
Right.
mean, like I figured the less I know, the better off I am, if you
You
will.
know, I wonder if it is has something to do with your cultural background. If
Maybe,
people were less dramatic or less like so uptight than maybe Americans.
maybe, like we didn't make a big. I mean, look, like back then, talking about 40, 50 years ago, people did not make a big deal about things like they do right now. That's what
Hmm.
I feel. It was just really, you know, the way I looked at it, women, like I was very simple. Women have done it for thousands of years. I can do it too. It's like
Yes.
I like that was basically the premise with which I was going. It's something as easy as like, nobody teaches you how to breathe. You just do it,
Hmm.
right? Like it's
Your body
so
knows. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I was kind of like I told you, like there was a lot of curiosity. And at the beginning, I was like back then and like still now, like I was very much against anything, any interferences in
Hmm.
terms of like uh if I don't need it, I like if my body is not asking for it, I probably don't need it. So my
Hmm.
decision was I'm not gonna take any painkillers again
Hmm.
because for thousands of years women didn't and they made it.
Hmm.
Uh, and at the same time, I was like, well, you know what? Let's not be dramatic here in terms of if I'm really suffering, I'm not gonna deny myself because I made that decision. So I was like, you know what? I prefer to give birth without any like for me it was almost like I want to see what it's like. I don't want any interference. Like I don't want
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
mute the experience.
Hmm.
I really want to
Even the
have
pain, you wanted to see what it's
right,
like. Yeah.
right, right.
So
Because
you
like
was very curious. So you didn't make that pain too suffering. You was just
yeah,
experiencing that pain because nowadays I feel like a lot of mothers before they even go into labor, they already made that pain into suffering because they're
ah,
so already
I hear what you're saying.
overworked. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's really an interesting point that you're making because and yes, I gave birth like over 20 years ago, but I'm recalling it now. But like for me, the biggest element was curiosity. It wasn't
Hmm.
about the pain.
Hmm.
Curiosity was I was like, I wonder what it's like to give birth. Like I'm really curious what it's
Yes.
like.
Yes.
Like and that was the main factor. I was driven by curiosity, so I was like I don't want any painkillers, like I don't want any interference. I am
Hmm.
curious about what it's like. So I didn't think of it as suffering, and I recognize that when we approach uh like I know that about myself. If I know what the pain is all about, and I know it's kind of like a safe pain, if you will, like
Uh-huh.
let's put it this way: like I know when you give birth, you're supposed it's not it's painful, but I know it's kind of like it's painful because that's what happens. But I am not dying. I don't have any medical conditions. Like nothing is happening to my body other than me giving birth. We know what's going
Hmm.
on.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
like somehow I wasn't thinking that I'm gonna suffer. Like it
Hmm.
was not part of my belief. I believe that I have perfect body to give birth. Like, I really
Hmm.
believe that my body is perfect for
Hmm.
giving birth. So I wasn't thinking I was gonna suffer. I did have
Right.
that strong belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it could be that because I had that belief, my birth went easy, or it could be that my birth meant to be easy and that's just how it went. I don't know. But I can tell you, I had really strong belief going in that I'm going to be fine. It's,
Right. Right. You just wow. Yeah.
I'm going to be fine. And like I said, in the back of my mind, there was always, you know what? I am in modern United States. If I'm really suffering, all I need to do is say, hey, can I get that epidural, please?
Right.
Like,
Yes.
so
Yes.
I was like, worst case scenario, if I'm at a place where, like I can't take it anymore, something is wrong, I'll ask for it and I'll get it. So
Hmm.
that's how I was.
Hmm.
So
And
yeah,
and
like
then
I
when
said,
you
my
actually went into labor with the both delivery, it really went how
yeah,
you, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's exactly how it went. It's like with my son, he was 2 days late.
Uh,
So I was like, I'm supposed to give birth, I think, on a Sunday or something, on a Friday, and he didn't come. And
mm-hmm,
I had an appointment on Tuesday to see the actual like what's gonna happen or something.
hmm.
I forget which day it was. Like I had an appointment 2 days later to like see what's going on, like if he weren't coming. And then I remember it was like Monday night, I think. I went into like I started having contractions and I called my grandmother and she was 10 minutes away or 15 minutes away, like she was pretty close to us. And she said, let me come over and take a look at you. And she came over and she was like, you know what, you're dilated. I think I was 2 or 3 centimeters dilated. And she was like, okay, let's go to the hospital. And we went to the hospital and I was in pain, like I was having contractions, but you know, I kind of knew, like, yes, you're supposed to be in pain when you're giving birth, and like,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
I was fine, and I realized like my mind is very
I
busy
love it.
always. Like
Uh-huh.
my mind is very busy and like thinking about this and this and that. And I realized like as I was going there and like going through all of that, it's like my mind wasn't busy. I was like in one place. Like I was in my body. I was
Mm-hmm.
focused on, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the primest experience to be had. I wasn't thinking about bills that need to be paid or, like grocery that I didn't get to do or whatever, whatever. I was like right there.
Yeah, you was completely present.
Yeah, I was, and
Uh,
I was very much was my experience and everything just,
uh,
I was very focused on what's going on with my body. Like I was,
uh-huh. That right there
every,
is a spiritual
yeah, yeah,
experience. That
exactly.
because that's
Exactly.
meditation.
Exactly.
We're
I
fully
was in
present.
pain, yeah, and I was aware of the pain, but it wasn't like it
Right.
wasn't terrible. Like I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
really wasn't terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother was like, breathe or like periodically she would be like, if I would started doing something, she was like, no, don't do that. Like that's like you wasting your energy. Like just do this or do that. Okay, fine. And I would be like, uh, and it didn't really take me that long. I think Adam came in 6.5 hours. And I remember like there wasn't much attention for me from standpoint of doctors and nurses because I seemed to be stable. I
Mm-hmm.
seemed to be doing well. I was having family support. You know how it is. It's like
Yeah.
if like they had other more critical patients to deal with. And
Mm-hmm.
and I think another gracing factor in all of that was that my waters didn't break.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My waters didn't break, and I've heard from people later on that when you're having contractions with before your waters break, it's not as bad as like dry contractions. So
Okay.
yes, I mean I was, like I was aware of pain. Like when people ask me, I was like, it was a little stronger than, my menstrual pains. I mean a little stronger cramps, but I
Wow.
mean it wasn't terrible. Like, I was much more fascinated with what's going on inside me than the
Right.
pain. I was like, oh, like this is happening now and this is happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Like my only kind of irritants were that I was at the hospital and I can't stand those metallic lights. And they strapped all sorts of things on me, like, like
Yeah.
around my abdomen. And I wanted to have hands on my abdomen. Like, I wanted to have hands on my body. And I
Right.
was very, like, that was uh, sort of like interfering with my freedom. I felt like I
Right. Right.
just
Yeah.
wanted to, like be. And I was tied to other places. And I was
Right.
like, is it really
Mm-hmm.
necessary? I feel wonderful. I feel great. Is it really necessary for you to keep track on my pulse like that?
Right.
And like, is it really necessary for me to have my hand like this all the time? Like, yeah, 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 yeah. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. But I was, like I said, that was my
You
only
just went
kind
with
of,
flow.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
just like I just wanted to be
I love
free and
it.
I just
Yeah.
like I didn't want to have all of these contraptions on me. But they were like, oh, no, 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 like, we have to have the money, we have to have this. Okay, fine, whatever. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then I remember at some point, I was getting to a place of like, I started getting tired because my labor went through the night and it was like maybe
Mm-hmm.
4 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, oh, like, I'm getting tired maybe here. And no, no, then the doctor came and she was like, you're 8 centimeters dilated, let me break your waters. Like, you're getting close to it. And she broke my waters and contractions got a little harder, like more
Mm-hmm.
painful. And I was like, oh, like maybe, maybe I should consider this anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at my grandmother and she goes, no, she goes, like, in half an hour, like, if you don't take this epidural right now, in half an hour, you're going to have your baby in your hands. You take an epidural, she goes, it will take him half an hour to come here and do the. And she goes, just, go through it. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, fine. And I trusted her completely. And I was like, half an hour didn't seem that long. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
let's go for it. And guess what? In half an hour, I had my baby in my hands. I, it was just really like I had that moment of hesitation
Mm-hmm.
and I went through it and I went all in and and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. So easy.
And that was like one thing that I like one other thing like I remember this experience that I'm talking to you right now, like I'm tapping into it again. I had very very hard time sleeping for months after my son was born, and this was the experience that would help me drift off to sleep. I would go back to this experience of his birth, and it brought me so much calm that it would help me relax and go back to sleep. I used that image for many months after.
Wow.
Like the
Wow.
actual birth and like him coming
Uh-huh.
out and like them giving him
Uh-huh.
to me,
That.
it was just so peaceful, like truly a spiritual experience.
Wow.
Like it was just like I don't know any like I don't think I would have coded like that back
Oh,
then. I
yeah.
wasn't using these words or understanding what a spiritual experience was,
Mm-hmm.
but I can tell you it was something magical.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
truly a magical experience for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Um, so one thing I'm just curious, when doctor came and broke your water, it wasn't really a
Uh
big deal for you to just like, okay, just do, what it needs to be done
Look,
and
I
leave.
trusted her. I trusted her. That's number one. And number two, like I told you, I had my obstetrician next to me and I
Yeah.
kind of looked at her and I know that like when I'm like the baby is really coming out when you're dilated at 10 centimeters. So I
Uh-huh.
was like, I'm at 8 centimeters. I'm
Uh-huh.
about like I'm getting pretty close to
Yeah.
that time. She
Mm-hmm.
says that that's what will speed up. And I was like, and
Mm-hmm.
I again, like I told you, I had my own doctor with me, if you will. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I was ready. Should she do it? And she goes, yeah, sure. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, that made sense. To me,
Yeah.
that made
Yeah.
sense. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, let's put it also this way. You know how like I saw a doctor for throughout the duration of my pregnancy. I saw a doctor, but of course, the night I was giving birth, my doctor was not on call. So I never met this lady before. I
Wow.
didn't even know who the doctor was.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I mean, she was
Wow.
just a doctor. She
Uh-huh.
was a doctor delivering my baby. But given that given that I had full trust in my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, and like I told you, I was like, it's not that sophisticated to give birth in a sense like it's a common experience. Half of the population gives birth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's something that
Yes.
we do. So
I love that how you said it. Yeah. Because like
so
you said earlier, we've been doing this for thousands of years. It's not something that has to be sophisticated. It's just, yeah,
I mean, like
it's a
I
common thing.
also knew that I did not have a complicated pregnancy. I didn't have
Right.
any complications. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any issues. So I did not have to think about any of that.
Mm-hmm.
She did not know any of my history. She barely spent 2 minutes with me because I was so easy. She was just doing rotations and she had a hard case somewhere, like she had a
Mm-hmm.
C-section next room. So, and she told me that when she's working with somebody who's having difficulty. So I
Mm-hmm.
was, what, like, I
Mm-hmm.
understand. Of course, it's like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
need her to be with me when somebody is suffering. Like, I have somebody with me. You know what I mean? Like I have somebody whom I fully trust. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
sure, go do what you need to
Mm-hmm.
do. And then she was there, and I was almost at a place where like, okay, well, it's happening right now. And like she walked in, she grabbed, and there it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't even remember her. Like, I mean, I remember she was a smallish woman. That's about as much like I said. I met her for half an hour.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I love how like everything it feels like really full surrender, you know, the
Yeah,
deep
yeah.
trust, and then you just surrender into whatever was happening. Because the reason I asked you about the, doctor came in and I'm gonna break your water, and then about what kind of conversation it was there is it is really important for us to know. I think it's not like one size fits everybody kind of experience. Birthing
Yeah,
is not
yeah.
one size fits everybody, and there's never right or wrong for each individual because our body is different, our perspectives are different, our experiences are different, how we think is different. So for you, everything went just like, easy and surrender. For you, it was just, it's okay. That was your power to just completely in deep trust and surrender.
Oh,
Okay,
look, she told me I'm 8 centimeters dilated. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like at 10, like I'm like really she's gonna start asking me to push, and she's like, you're gonna be there like
Mm-hmm.
pretty soon. So and that will speed it up. And I'm like, okay, sure, like do it,
Yeah.
whatever. Look, I didn't, let's put it this way, I didn't know any better in terms of like I wasn't trying to know more than the doctor about any of this.
Mm-hmm.
I just trusted was like I went with the flow. It's like
Right.
I know that for a lot of women their water breaks and that's how they know they're in labor. That's not how it was for me. So
Mm-hmm.
like
Yes.
there I
So
am in the hospital, like already ready to start pushing, and my water didn't break. So she was like, should I do it? And I'm like, well, yeah, you're the doctor
mhm.
here. So
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So it really like you was completely, I feel like really aware of what is going on.
very,
That's just
very much so, very much so.
mhm.
It was,
Oh,
I mean, like I told you, it was like one of the most beautiful experiences for me. Like giving birth to my son Adam was, like,
uh-huh. Oh. And then like when you were struggling to, sleeping or tired, you would think about that moment, baby coming out. Yeah, that's
yeah, it's
amazing.
a,
Yeah.
it, it was, I had like, it was very, very calm for me. It was like one of the calmest states I've been in my life. Like I know
Wow.
it may be hard to
Mm-hmm.
reconcile, but
Mm-hmm.
it was truly like in the midst of pushing and all of that, I was very calm. I was very
Mm-hmm.
calm.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was something very calm about the whole thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything is happening the way it should be happening. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is the most important thing in the world. There is nothing else that's more
Mm-hmm.
important than that. That's how it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like and there was no question about it. There was no second guessing. There was no like racing thoughts in different directions. There was
Mm-hmm.
nothing more important than being there at that
Mm-hmm.
moment. So
Right. Wow. So is that experience helped you later on with like you start walking the path of spirituality?
um it's an interesting question. I haven't really thought about that consciously, but I could just say that is a state I know I was fully present.
Right.
I like it's not something that I can often drop into. It's like it's not
Mm-hmm.
always a choice, it's a grace, I would say. But
Mm-hmm.
at that moment, like in those few hours in the hospital, I could tell you I was fully present.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
like with my pillow clutched behind my pocket, like whatever, like under my arm, like walking into the hospital. Regardless of all of that, I was fully present.
Mm-hmm.
That's like
Mm-hmm.
I know what a state of like full presence is.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Mm. I'm thinking about my own birth thing, experience when I was pushing. Actually, it was a different experience for me. I feel like I kind of went out, but again,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
everyone experience different. There's no right or wrong. Don't get me wrong. I hope that I could be more present and remember more, but I feel like my birthing experience, I was out of my body.
ah, ah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think I was in my, I kind of had to be in my body. I had to feel my body.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I felt my body. I
Mm-hmm.
had to
Mm-hmm.
be with the contractions. Like I told you, I was curious. I wanted to know what's going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I know.
I,
Oh, that's
and,
I love that
and
because you were
let's put
so
it this way.
curious. You were just right there.
And I
Yeah.
want to say something else. I wasn't sure how many kids, like, some people are, oh, like, I want to have 4 kids. I wasn't sure how many kids I was going to have.
Uh-huh.
So it could have been my only chance. So I
Mm.
really wanted to be there.
Yeah.
I was like, it could be my only chance to experience what it's
Uh-huh.
like to be a woman and give birth. So, like, I
Mm-hmm.
want to be there.
Wow.
Like 3 months
Wow.
after Adam was
Really,
born, I
yeah.
decided, like, I really want
Mm-hmm.
to have another child. But
Yeah.
at that moment, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have
Mm-hmm.
this again.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna be there.
Right. But then how was it the second birth? Do you think you was as much present
Uh
as your first time? I mean, yeah.
I would say yes, I was as much present, but I was
Uh-huh.
almost like, I would say I was cockier. I was cockier. I
Like,
was
oh, I
always
know
like,
how to do
oh,
this.
I know I can do that. I know I can do that. Been there, done that.
Uh-huh.
I was almost again like same grandmother, same kind of
Uh-huh.
deal. Karina came a little under 3 years after Adam. Like
Mm-hmm.
the difference between my kids is a little less than 3 years. So like I got pregnant 2 years later. And it was again uneventful pregnancy for the most part. It was a little more difficult because I already had a toddler, but uh, it was also like uneventful pregnancy. Although she was born 2 weeks earlier,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting that yet. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt like also kind of the same deal. I woke up and it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and at that point I kind of knew, like, I woke up, even though it's interesting, like, so that same grandmother was turning 80 years old. It was a Sunday, and she was 80 years old, and the whole family was at brunch celebrating her birthday. And my parents lived in New York then, and I was in Maryland. And my parents came over for brunch. And I remember, like, I was not feeling so hot during that brunch. And I was like, oh, like, I just feel like I want to go home and lay down. And my parents were like, you think something is going to happen? Like, should we go drive back home to New York? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, why not? Like, I'm still 2 weeks away. It may just be like a hot day, and like it
Mm-hmm.
was dry. So I was like, no, just go home. Everything is fine. And I went back home, like went to bed. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and my first thought was, okay, I'm in labor. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know I am in labor. Like there was
Mm-hmm.
no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
Called the grandmother. She
Uh-huh.
came over, checked me out. She goes, yes, you are. You're dilated. Like yes, okay, let's get going. We come to the hospital, different hospital this time, but like same area, different hospital. We come to the hospital again. It's like the doctor that I've been seeing is not on call. So I'm supposed to see some other doctor that I've never met before. I
Yeah.
kind of love this. It's like this is like one of the biggest moments in your life, and like you want somebody that you trust, and you get like
Right.
a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, like, I was very unconcerned about it again because I had my own doctor
Right.
next to me, and she was
Mm-hmm.
again like my waters again didn't break
Mm-hmm.
up until the last moment. And I am feeling great. I remember I was at a point where she was like, Tanya, she goes like, slow down. You're pushing way too hard. She's not ready to come out just yet. Because I was like, oh, I know how to do this. I'm gonna, She goes, no, no,
You.
no, 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 don't start pushing just yet. Slow down. Like, you don't want it that quick. Like, Karina was born under 6 hours. Like, from the moment I woke up, she came out like 6 hours later. Like, from the moment I woke up and I said, okay, I'm in labor, let's go to the hospital. But it was, but at some point, and I remember, and it's again kind of the same story. Like, there are no nurses or doctors in the room because I'm doing fine
Yeah.
and I have family with me. And at some point, I start like feeling like I think my waters broke at some point. I don't think anybody broke my waters. I think they kind of uneventfully broke at some point
Uh-huh.
in all of this. Uh, and at some point, that was like this is a very funny moment of the birth of my daughter. I am at the point of like I feel like I am like she's about to start coming out. And at that point, like I get that slight worry. All right, like I think like I don't want the baby to drop on the floor, right?
Mhm.
And where are all these people that are supposed to be here, right? And I look at my grandmother and she goes, okay. And I mean, she's 80 years old, right? But but she quit working last year. So, but I mean, she knows how to do it. Like she goes, like she kind of looks at like, she starts washing her hands and
Oh,
and and at that moment, a guy walks in, like a very tall guy that I've never met before, like like a huge tall guy.
uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, he and my grandmother, they start hugging each other. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like,
Yeah,
somebody, like,
yeah.
turns out that she worked in his office before. They knew each other. I
Oh,
did not know the guy. They knew
uh-huh,
each other. He goes,
uh-huh.
whoa, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. What are you doing here? And they start chatting, and she's like, oh, that's my great granddaughter is being born. Come on, guys.
And this is the doctor?
Yes, and that's the doctor again. Like she knew the
Oh,
doctor. I did not know the doctor. Like he barely had time to put the gloves on, and Karina
oh,
came out.
uh-huh. Oh,
So that was my second birth.
uh-huh.
I
So,
I
so then, like, you never met that doctor
no,
until Karina
no,
started coming out?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It was like I had nurses come in and check me, and like that experience
Uh-huh.
is kind of fuzzy in a sense. Like I know I told you.
Mhm.
I'm
Oops.
so
You
sorry.
okay?
Yes, yeah. Like I think I pushed something. Uh, because I was so confident with the fact that I had somebody to support me, somebody who I knew was qualified to deliver a
Mhm.
child. I
Mhm.
was, for years I used to say I could have given birth in the field. I used to
Mhm.
say that
Yeah.
uh,
Sounds
because
like it. Yeah.
I could have given birth in the field. Because I'm also very apprehensive of hospitals and I didn't want to
Mhm.
spend any more time in the hospital that I needed to. So I remember like I gave birth to Karina came out at 11:03 a.m.
Mhm.
Uh, and I remember like and I got up and I went to the bathroom and I did things. And then like in the afternoon I was like, do you think like I can go home now?
Yeah.
Like and they were like, no, you gotta stay overnight. And I'm like, are you sure? Like I really want to go home. Like I don't want to be here. Like I want to go home.
Mhm.
And I had my, three-year-old at home waiting for me. I really wanted to go home, and like I was uncomfortable at the hospital, and I felt like I was fully okay. And like, no,
Mhm.
you need to stay overnight. And I stayed overnight. At 8 o'clock in the morning of the following day, I left. And at noon of that same day, I was with my son at a playground
Mhm.
chasing after him. So 24 hours after my delivery, I was running after a 3-year-old, and I wasn't that much in pain, honestly. I was not.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
Like, I mean, sure, like I felt a bit,
Uh-huh.
bruised maybe, but I
Mhm.
was not. So that's why I said like I could have given birth in the field. It was
Right.
that
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Really sounds like. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I know they're grown, but if you ever gonna have a baby again, maybe you can try at home.
I mean, I don't think I have a chance of having a baby anymore. But I was like, I joked for years, like, I don't think I want any more kids. Like, I don't want to, have responsibility of raising more kids, but I could give birth every year. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I,
sounds like really, yeah. So that's how
it's,
some moms like really love having baby like that and they
yeah,
keep having baby. Yeah, I've talked to moms like that.
um,
Yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know that I want to raise any more babies, but like, and I can't tell you that, like, I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed the 9 months of pregnancy
Mm-hmm.
every moment. No,
Mm-hmm.
but if I could just, give birth every year, I totally would.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very deeply satisfying experience both
Mm-hmm.
times.
Mm-hmm. You know, your when I was reading your summary too, but then now, listening to your story, what I realized, like with my experience as a labor and delivery nurse at the hospital, how we talk so much about like terrifying birthing stories at the
Mm,
hospital. But then when I really, after I read your summary, I really started like thinking about my moms that I was serving. I'm like, there are many cases that it was, terrifying. it's a rare chances and cases that was happening at hospital. But what we talk about is the staffing in the hospital, doctors, nurses, and then all the management staffing. We all just talking about that small, tiny case that it happened.
Yeah.
And we keep repeating over and over, and we're terrified. And I'm like, I've witnessed many moms who gave birth like you, but we never talk about that.
I don't think you actually see them for more than 10 minutes. It's like, I did not see my doctor like for more than 10 minutes. I kid you not. That big dude ran in, gloved, took the baby from me and gave it to the nurses and left. And in those 10 minutes, he had a chance to interact with my grandmother too. So like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, doctors, especially labor and delivery doctors, unless they're really, really like sick patient, you know. So that's what I mean. Even nurses, like we don't focus on.
No,
you know.
I don't remember my nurses. I don't remember. Like I've had medical procedures, like not having to do with labor and delivery. I've had medical procedures, and I remember my nurse. You know, I remember people who were taking care of me. In both of my labors, I don't remember people. Like I'm sure they were nice and caring and all that. I don't remember them. Like I was very present with myself, but I don't remember anybody in particular, you know, like being with me. Like people would come in, tell me, oh, like do this, or like raise this flag, or move over here, or let me strap this to you. But I don't remember them.
That's
much.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's right there. That evidence. You trusted everything, and everything was going well. You know.
And maybe like from what you said, like maybe you as a nurse don't spend much time with people like me for good reasons. You know what I mean? Because like I've heard people.
But I think people likes to more talk about negative stuffs and drama. You know. Yes.
For me, it was like with my son, it was new to me. Like I was, you know, like I wanted to be at the hospital because that's what I knew. Like that's what I knew. Like, you know, women give birth at the hospital. Like I couldn't even imagine doing it somewhere else. But with my daughter, I kid you not, like if I knew of an opportunity to do it somewhere else, like I didn't need the hospital. Like I know I did not need the hospital. I did not need that whole setup. And I have to say, it all depends on your beliefs, I guess. And my belief was like, I went into that, like, you know, ever since I was young, I went into that belief that I'm going to be fine. And I don't know if I was fine just because I was fine or because, like, you know, I really, you know, brought that belief into life. Like, I'm going to be fine giving birth. And I was fine. And it was uneventful. And I wasn't never focused on any of these negative stories. Like I told you, right? Like, people can scare themselves in many ways. And I know how I scare myself, but this is not one of those. Like this was not one of those. Like I believed it's going to be fine. Awesome. I always believed I was going to be fine.
Yes. Yeah. And we have been as a woman, you know, we have been beautiful.
So these are the stories of, you know, my kids being born.
We need to talk more about this beautiful just body taking, just believing and just trusting and just surrendering, you know. So thank you so much for sharing this. It was so uplifting.
You're very welcome. It was a beautiful conversation.
And it is like so beautiful and refreshing to hear you actually deliver at the hospital, but you had this beautiful just surrendering, you know, this magical spiritual experience. So thank you, Tanya.
You're very welcome. Like I'm realizing, like I'm not that big on surrender in my life, you know, like I have not been, but these were like experiences of surrender in the years where I did not know what the word surrender means at all. But somehow the presence of the babies inside me invoked the higher wisdom of surrender. It was like there was something going on with my body that shut off this and allowed me to focus on the bigger thing happening inside me.
Perfect. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you for, you know, bringing it up with me. Like I kind of haven't thought about that.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing with so many women and spreading, you know, this amazing spiritual ritual. So thank you, Tanya. Thank you.